So let's spend a little bit more time on relationships. Again, Tableau uses that term relationships, but you'll also see and read about this concept called noodles. Again, that's just from the way the line between the two data sources looks like a noodle. So it enables two tables to be related together based on a common field or fields, right? So it doesn't have to be, one field from one table related to one field in another table. There could be multiple fields, or calculated fields. So you could have a calculation, a Tableau calculation from one data source being related to another calculated field in a data source, or a column, a field in another data source. So the fields must be the same data type, and they cannot be geographical fields. I know I've said this and you've seen this several times already, but this is important. It does not merge the two tables together, thus maintaining the original level of detail in each table. So you've got one table that has data that's kept hourly and another, just by the day. You can relate those two tables together and not lose that level of detail. It's also important to understand that what's going on, what is Tableau doing with this join, with this relationship? And it's important to understand that the relationship is eventually going to become a join, but it's a join that Tableau will automatically create and select the best join type depending on the visualization that you're creating. So this happens during the visual analytics that you're doing, and it again preserves the native level of detail in your data. So these relationships are basically creating primary key, foreign key relationships, and all that fun cardinality stuff. So speaking of that fun cardinality stuff, we use our understanding of cardinalities to optimize performance within Tableau when we create these relationships. It's also really important to understand that if you aren't sure about your underlying data, right, the shape of your data, or you just forgot this stuff, just use the defaults that Tableau provides. That's your best option in terms of having the proper data to be such that the proper data is available for your visualizations. The performance of Tableau may not be optimized, but at least you're not worrying about, am I missing any data, or is there duplicate data, etc. But you all, I know, remember this fun cardinality stuff. So before we talk about it any further, I do want to point out that the terms Tableau uses are slightly different from the terminology we learned in ACG 4401. In ACG 4401, we learned about min and max, maximum cardinalities and minimum cardinalities. So the maximum cardinalities, which could either be one or many, that we learned about in 4401, Tableau simply uses the term cardinality instead. The minimum cardinalities that we learned about in 4401, which were either optional, 0 or 1, Tableau refers to the minimum cardinalities by the idea of referential integrity. And so this is how you're able to use your understanding of cardinalities and your understanding of the underlying data set to optimize the performance of these relationships in Tableau. So you'll notice here that we're looking at the relationship between orders and people. The relationship is being connected by region. So in our orders worksheet, we have a column called regions, west, east, central, and south. And in the people, we also have that region, west, east, central, and south. That's what we see on the screen right here. And that's how we're relating records of the order records to the people records. Now, we know that in the region side, there are many, so that's where you see there the cardinality where it says many. There are many records that have west region or east region or central region or south region, etc. But on the people side, just one. So it's a one-to-many relationship from people to orders. So for any one people record, there can be many order records. And so we've adjusted the cardinality in the edit relationship to reflect that. And then under referential integrity, you'll notice that under both, it says all records match under each one. And that's because the minimum cardinality is not optional. It's one. If I have an order record, that record is going to have to be related to a people record because I only have east, west, central, and south regions in my orders. And the same way from people to orders, if I have a Chuck McGee, that has to be related to at least one order record because we know we have regions west, east, central, and south. So all records match that way as well. Now we're looking at the relationship between orders and returns. And so let's look at the returns and let's look at again how the relationship is being created. It's being created by matching order ID, so order ID on orders and order ID on returns. And here we've left the cardinalities for both as many because a particular order record could be related to more than one return, and a return record could be related to more than one order. And then under referential integrity, we have some records, again, we have some records match going both ways. And that's because you could have an order record that may not match a return record. And actually, I just thought of this. From returns, that should say all records match. Because if I have a return record, it has to be matching an order. We can't have a return without an order. So it would be more appropriate to change that last where it says some records match under returns to all records match in order, again, just to optimize the performance. Now, when you create, when you combine the data, whether it's via relationships or joins, which we're going to cover in a few minutes, or unions, which again we're going to cover in a few minutes, you're always going to want to validate that combined data. So this video is going to go over ways in which you could do that. Okay, in this short video, I want to show you once you create your relationships, which is the example I'll use in this video, but also certainly if you create joins and unions, you should, after doing that, so you should check your data so that after creating combining the data tables or the data sheets, that you have the data that you're expecting. So I'm going to show you a couple ways to do that. I'm going to drag in orders from our Superstore sheet. Now, if you've worked with this, you know that it has 9,994 rows, but I'm going to go ahead and I typed in 10,000, and you can see that it changed to 9,994 because that's the number of rows we have. So that's going to be an important number to make sure we still have that many rows after we develop our relationships. I'm going to drag people over, and I'm going to modify the performance because we know that it's a one-to-many relationship, right? There's one region that's in the people sheet that's related to many orders. So we've done that. And then I'm going to say all records match and all records match, because there are no orders that don't have a matching region in the people table, and there are no people table records that don't have a matching region in the orders table. Okay, notice that there are only 4 records in the people table. And then finally, I'm going to bring out returns. And notice that there's only 800 return records. So out of the 9,994 orders, remember that there's not that many orders. Each row in our orders table represents an item. So there's fewer than 9,994 orders. I'm leaving the performance as defaults, because in the orders table there are rows that have multiple order. There'll be different rows with the same order ID. In the returns table, as you can see right here, different records with the same order ID. Some records are going to match from orders to returns and from returns to orders, but not all. So I'm leaving all the defaults as defaults. And now let's see if the combination we did maintains the correct data. So the first thing I'm going to do is just click right here where it says View Data. So we're going to view all the data, and you'll notice under the orders we've got 9,994. That's right. Under people we have 4 rows. That's right. And under returns we have 800 rows, and that's right. So we don't really have to do any more, but I want to just show you a couple different ways we can do the same thing. This orders count and people count and returns count is generated, right? This is something that Tableau does. This is the name of the table, and the count, right? You can see right there the number of records in that table. So if I select that and either Control on Windows or Command on Mac, so I've selected all the counts. This is just going to be easy to create a simple table I wanted to show me. And again, this is showing me the same thing as View Data, but just in a quick table, and we can verify that we have the proper number of order records, the proper number of people records, and the proper number of return records. So whenever you're working in developing a data source, I highly encourage you to, before you start doing any analysis, to do this, to basically verify that the combinations that you made are providing you with a data set that you're expecting before you start doing your analysis.